Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Maya Bowles. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, this Atlanta, Georgia native fell in love with dance at a young age and discovered she had a passion for theater as she grew up. She's a recent graduate of Point Park University, has performed at the Atlanta Lyric Theater, the Strand Theater, and the MUNY, and is currently in Moulin Rouge on Broadway. Please welcome Maya Bowles.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you virtually. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Doing well. How about you?
I'm good too. It's been a crazy couple of years, but things are going well now.
Yeah. I think things are on the brighter side now.
Yeah, things are on the brighter side for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So speaking of that, how did you get through that time, like without theater and without live shows? Because that was difficult.
Yeah, it was weird. So for me, like COVID hit right when I was graduating college. So like I was like sent back home. So that was just like a big life change, obviously, like to be like, oh, like I'm making all these moves to, get ready to move to New York and like pursue my career. And then like, oh, just wait, like, no, you're not. So, and then like going back home and like, like I got like a non-performing job. I mean, I taught dance classes and like did other things like that too, but like I had my first non-arts related job, like, non-performing arts related job, like at a retail, like vintage store, which was so cool. And it was nice to see like interests I have beyond dance and theater when like, especially in college when that was like so my focus. And so like that was the brighter side of it. But and I'm generally optimistic, so I think like I also kind of stayed on the positive air of it all, and like maybe too optimistic and like thinking it would be over a lot quicker. But when I would watch, anytime that I tried to watch like a musical, like I tried to watch like Hamilton on Netflix and stuff, like I would like break down.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, which would like feel like it would come out of nowhere, but because I was trying to be like so like light and upbeat about it, but like it's definitely hard to be without the arts for anyone, not just like artists, but like live theater. That's like so important. And yeah, it's hard.
I got a Broadway HD subscription during that time, and I was like, I'm just gonna rewatch all these like 500 times. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I think I annoyed everyone because my sister would like come in the room and I'd be watching another musical and they'd be like, again, you're watching this again? Like, haven't you watched this? Didn't you watch this like 20 times last week?
It's like, yeah, it's like that's so important to like what you do when you pursue it, and also like who you are, if like it's something that you are, like so interested in, and like something that has become such an important piece of your life, and it's like hard for that to be just like taken away. So yeah, and like even watching it like on like, I'm sure it was comforting to watch like musicals on a TV screen, but it's just not the same thing.
No, not at all. So when you mentioned you're optimistic, did you think it would come back in like a month? Because I certainly did.
I did. I was like, it was like March 2020 when the shutdown happened. I was like, I didn't think a month. I was like, okay, by the summer, like things will be fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and I was like, the summer things will be fine. And then I'll go ahead and move to New York in August, like I planned originally. And like August of 2020, which like obviously didn't happen, but like I kind of kept just pushing the date back. I was like, okay, well, like
just a little
it looks
longer.
like it's not happening. Maybe winter's going to be rough, but like for sure by, 2021, and then it like still wasn't really happening. And like, yeah, I definitely did not expect it to be like this. And I'm just kind of like glad we are over that hump, because I think, yeah, like that's just like not sustainable to like not have
No, I was like looking at the Broadway World forums like every other week, like looking at when people thought everything would come back.
Yeah.
Because I
Oh
feel
my
like
gosh,
people
yeah.
on there were like guessing and like playing the guessing game, and they're like, here's why I think it's gonna come back in September 2020 or something like that.
Right.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. This person's optimistic. Cool.
Yeah.
Them.
I think like it took a while for me to be like, okay, maybe stop. You know, like I need to just like wait and see and like live in where I'm at right now because I'm confused or like I just don't know when it's gonna like come back, and that's okay. Like,
yeah. And there's silver linings. Like people got to go home, spend time with family.
Yeah. And I think especially like now that I've been, you know, like in this community, like I've been like a little bit more involved in like the Broadway community now, like I can kind of, I mean, obviously like it was difficult for them to like not have jobs. Like I can get where like a part of that was like a nice break and a nice like of the routine of like, you know, doing shows and like constantly putting yourself at work and like making yourself vulnerable to like people every night. Like I'm sure that was a nice break, but it's like after like a week or 2 weeks, you're kind of like, okay, getting back to the stage, you know? So like,
yes,
I couldn't imagine how that would be for someone who was like actively performing at that time. To like,
I can't imagine. I mean,
yeah.
I've heard like mixed things. I've heard like there's silver linings, but like I definitely missed it.
Yeah.
So have you always wanted to be a performer and be on stage?
Yeah, just about for as long as I can remember. I started dancing when I was like 4. I've always loved performing, and I didn't really get into theater until about like middle school, but I mean I kind of always loved putting on a show in general, like for my family members, like whether that was like a fashion show, like singing, like doing a poem that I wrote. Like I like loved the idea of performing and like sharing something with, you know, people so they can like see another side of you. Like so I've always kind of loved, that's always been a part of my life. So I knew, you know, like I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And it's weird too, because like, you know, so many people love performing and it becomes a hobby to them instead of a career. And like when you're younger, especially, you're surrounded by people who like may not pursue it as a career. And I think that's when I realized like, okay, no, this is different for me than it is for, you know, like the other people that I'm dancing with. I'm like, okay, like as we're getting older, I'm like still in that track and they've like branched off. And where I was like, that's where I knew like I would want to be seriously performing, like making it my career. Yeah.
When did you figure out it could be a career? Because I feel like there's like growing up, you don't always know that it can be a career, that like Broadway is a career and
yeah,
performing on stage is a career.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, like I was lucky enough to be in like my mom was very involved in the arts. Like she didn't pursue it past, I think, high school, but she was like very involved in it at a young age. And like she grew up in New York, and her dad would like take her and her sister to see Broadway shows on special occasions. So like I kind of always knew that it was something that could be pursued professionally, but I didn't know all the different avenues that you could pursue it professionally, obviously. Like I think like when I was really little, I was like, oh, I want to be a pop star or like a star, you know what I mean? Like it was just like kind of a vague like I want to be a performer. And then like as I got older, and especially because I did study dance for so long, like I was seeing like concert dance and like stuff like that as an option. But I think I always kind of knew, like I didn't have like an aha moment of like, oh, I can like pursue this, like because I think it was always kind of in my life, and like I've had that inspiration like from like my family early on that like it could be something I can pursue all the way. So I'm just lucky. I know everyone doesn't have that. A lot of people have that moment of like, oh, like I can sing and dance and get paid for it. Like, so.
Yes. What's your favorite dance genre? Because I mean, I know that dance has been a huge part of your life. And
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously really good at it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Yeah, thank you. Jazz is definitely my favorite. It's always been. I did a lot of tap at like one of the first dance studios I started at. Like it was kind of more tap focused. So tap was like probably like my first love. But like as I got more training and like was able to had the technical ability to do a bunch of other styles, like jazz quickly became my new favorite and like where I wanted to like definitely a jazz baby. But I love all styles of dance, and like that was so important to me when I went to school. I wanted to make sure I went to like a dance school that I could focus on different genres, like a bunch of different genres. But like jazz is definitely where my heart is.
So that's a good segue to college. You went to Point Park University, I read.
Yes.
So why did you choose to go there? And what was the most valuable takeaway you learned at school?
I did a summer intensive at like with Point Park's dance program, like my sophomore year, in between my sophomore and junior year of high school. And I just kind of fell in love with it. And I knew I wanted to be somewhere where I was dancing a lot. And that was one of the first schools that I felt like gave me that and a range of styles. So like I was taking, 3-4 classes a day. And I was being able to take ballet, jazz, modern, tap, have voice, and contemporary partnering, and like just do a huge range of styles. And like for me, because I was, even though I especially at like the end of my high school, I wasn't sure if I wanted to pursue concert dance or theater. Like I was kind of like, I don't know. I was like, obviously I love jazz, but there are wonderful jazz dance companies that I can join instead of like being in a, pursuing theater. So I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I was getting technical training in every avenue so that I could then
have a choice,
be at a point to make a decision, like make that decision because I had all the tools. And I think my biggest takeaway probably from Point Park is to not limit yourself, and to not put yourself in a box, because even though I was like, oh, I want to be well versed, I want to do all these things, I got to Point Park and was surrounded by so many people who were like incredible ballerinas or like beautiful modern dancers. And I was like, oh yeah, my thing's jazz. Like I do jazz. But then like, that put myself in a box before I was like giving myself a chance to grow and like, and fully do other styles and like get better at them and like fall in love with them. Like I fell in love with jazz. And even more so with theater, I went to a performing arts high school. So I did theater in high school, but in college, that's when I kind of realized, okay, I know I definitely want to pursue theater now. How can I like make myself marketable in theater when I'm like only pursuing dance in college? And I had to kind of start breaking myself out of the box that I put myself into. Like, I'm a jazz dancer, and say like, no, I'm a jazz dancer who has worked a lot on her voice and can sing a song for you and can, like give you a monologue and like can, I don't know, like I kind of had to start giving myself more credit. And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway from college. The people who give themselves more credit can go a lot further because they already like have that confidence, regardless of like where their skill level is yet.
I mean, I think special skills apply to being able to dance and sing at the same time.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's so hard.
That's like ridiculously, like when I think of dancing and singing at the same time, I'm like, that's like doing this.
Yeah.
It's
definitely a skill. And it's like one that, if you're pursuing just dance or just voice, that you don't think of until like you have to like marry the two and you're like, wow, this is another beast in and of itself. Like,
for sure. Yeah. So when did you you've been involved in regional shows at big theaters like the MUNY.
Yeah.
When did you get involved with the MUNY?
I auditioned for the MUNY 2018. like the year of 2018, and I booked Annie at the MUNY, and it was just kind of my first time. I didn't know a lot about summer stock theater at that point, but like I was doing so much dance, and I was like, I miss theater. Like I want to spend my summers doing theater. And a lot of my friends who went to school for musical theater like had all these auditions lined up, and one of my good friends booked the MUNY the year before, and I was like, okay, I want to do that. Like that looks fun. And so then I auditioned, and it was an incredible experience. Like the audition experience I loved. And I was lucky enough to be able to work there that summer, and then the following summer with 2 shows, so I was there for a longer time, and it was incredible. I mean, it was a great experience. I like can't wait to hopefully one day like go back. It's like amazing. Yeah.
It's on my bucket list to go there and watch the show.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you have to.
I mean, I've seen like so many people post about performing there and about how they love it. And I've seen like audience members post about like how good the shows are. So I've been like, I need to cross it off my bucket list at some point.
Yeah, it's just nice to be in a city where like you can fill a humongous like outdoor like arena with theater goers. Like that's just so cool. Like it's like feels like you're going to like a baseball game, but like you're watching Cinderella. Like it's cool. It's just cool. Yeah, it's definitely a special experience. Make that up there on your bucket list for sure.
What has been your favorite regional show to perform in? Because I mean, Broadway's amazing, and making your Broadway debut is obviously a huge deal. But I feel like regional theater doesn't get enough appreciation, and it's like such a magical thing.
It is, and I honestly haven't had the opportunity to do as much regional theater in a lot of different places as I've wanted to. But my favorite show that I've done regionally would be Footloose at the MUNY. Like it's just such a good show, and it's so much fun. And so high energy. And I was with like my cast people. They were like all incredible. They were all so excited. They were all we were all around the same age range and in the same point of our lives, like just starting our careers and like wanting to, just have a good time on stage. So that was definitely my favorite show that I've ever done regionally. It's a good one.
I mean, speaking of a hard show, those dances can't be slow.
Oh no, they're so but that's what I loved about it. Like it's so high energy. It was like, you're twirling and you're kicking and you're like, and then you're also like screaming, singing at the top of your lungs. Like and it's 80s music. It's just so high energy, which it was just such a good time. It's a good, especially for such a short run. Like I'm sure it's hard to sustain a show like that for a long time, but like for 10 days of you like at your highest energy and just like having the time of your life in the summer, like it's just great.
Well, speaking of high energy shows, you're in a pretty high energy show right now. It's kind of,
I am.
I mean, there's kind of like moments where you're like, oh my God, this is such a sad show, but it's mostly high energy.
Yeah.
So Moulin Rouge, what was your audition process like for Moulin Rouge? And did you ever expect to be auditioning for a Broadway show so soon after you got out of college?
So I started auditioning right before the shutdown. So like February of 2020 was when I had like my first audition. So I took the mega bus from Pittsburgh to New York to like have my first audition, and then I kept having callbacks. So I would just like come back on the mega bus 7 hours overnight to like come to New York and audition. And I think at that point it was for touring company and for Broadway replacements. And oh my gosh, I was in the audition, I was obsessed with the choreography. Like I couldn't stop myself from smiling. I was like, Maya, you need to like drop the smile. Like you have got to be like sexy, like stop smiling. Like it's because it's so well done, like especially choreography wise. And like, that's what I love. Like the movement it feels good. And like, I think and then during the process of me coming back and forth, I was able to see the show for the first time. And like, I was on the edge of my seat. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, I have to be in this show. Like I must. And then obviously the pandemic happened. I didn't hear anything. So I like didn't know what that meant. And I was just kind of like, I hope that dream's not dead. And I kind of just kept it in the back of my mind. And then I moved to New York in June of 2021 and then I got an appointment from my agents for Moulin Rouge in July of 2021. And it was for Broadway. And so, although I was like really manifesting being in Moulin Rouge, never in a million years did I think that I would be doing it with the majority of the original Broadway cast. Like that was actually like insane. Like that, I that's something I did not expect. Especially you're like you said, so quickly out of school to be with all of these vets who like have been doing Broadway for so many years and are just like are so inspirational to me. Like it was not. I did not think that was gonna happen. So I feel incredibly blessed and grateful to have been able to do it with them for so long and like to continue to be with so much of the original Broadway cast. Like it's very cool.
I mean, I'm just saying, I bet they're amazed by the talent that you have, by the pure talent that you have on an everyday basis. They're probably like, wow, like she's good to be just like, how many years out of college?
2 now.
I mean, I know everyone has a different timeline and everyone has a different journey, but like, you gotta give yourself some credit for being that fresh out of college.
And I mean, it's also weird because Moulin Rouge is such a mature show. So like, that was kind of my biggest worry that like, even if I can do the movement correctly, like, and, like, whatever exists in the world with my movement, like, do I have the experience to like be next to so many people that are on a different level of like their life, like are in a different place in their lives and like maturity and like than I am, like, can I stand next to that? And I think that was my biggest concern, like going into the rehearsal process. Like that's wonderful, like, like I stood out in the audition process enough to get noticed to book the job, but like then next to these Broadway veterans, like, do I have a place? So yeah, that was something I thought about a lot. And oh my gosh, I just feel lucky that I've been with, they really have taken me under their wing. And I feel like I've grown so much just being in their presence. Like
it's such a spectacle of a show. I've seen it now twice on Broadway. I saw it October 2019, and then I saw it October of 2021. And it's just like no other show. Were you a fan of the movie before auditioning for Moulin Rouge? Right?
I wasn't actually. I wasn't a big fan of the movie. I honestly, I'd only seen the movie once. And it was because one of my good friends was like, oh, you need to see this movie. Like, I'm obsessed with this movie. And I think it was it might have been before Moulin Rouge even hit Broadway. And I watched the movie and I was like, okay. But I mean, obviously then I saw the musical and I was like, okay, put me in. Like I want to be in that. I always loved Lady Marmalade, like for whatever reason, even though I didn't know I wasn't super familiar with the movie, like that song was a big part of my like childhood. Like I think also like a lot of people dance to that at competitions. Like I think it was just a constant song that I constantly like knew about. Yeah. Yes.
What is the rehearsal process like going in to rehearse with, I mean, a full company? Because you got that experience rehearsing with the full company.
Yeah.
When you joined the cast.
Yeah, we started off the first like 2 weeks were just the new ensemble members and swings. So we were able to kind of like, which was nice. We were able to like learn the choreography and like learn the music in a less threatening situation, like without being surrounded by the people who like created it. So that was nice because it is so like the movement is so specific and like it's a lot to tackle. And I think, just being thrown into that would have been so incredibly intimidating, especially coming from like a pandemic and me like working a retail job. Like, so we did that for about 2 weeks, and then the rest of the ensemble joined, and we kind of had like a boot camp type of situation where we like boot camp of Moulin Rouge choreography. Like we do the choreography like together, so we could just like feel each other's energy. And like, like I took that opportunity to learn from watching so many of the vets and the original Broadway cast. And then about a week after that, it was full ensemble. And we just like started like working through the show and building it up until we got to like a point to run it, which was also like endurance wise, like we kind of needed to just build up to that point, because like, I mean, you've seen it, the opening number is no joke. And it's like, that's how you start off. So it's like, you gotta find the stamina to be able to do that.
It makes me tired watching as an audience member.
Yeah. It's so much, and there's so many levels to it. And it's like, you have points where you're giving like full energy, and then points where you need to like kind of like slow down and be subtle. And it's kind of hard to the up and down of that is challenging. And then once you add the stage in, that's a whole nother like element, because the stage is like insane, like with the passerelle, the tea, and the like the shells and the stairs. Like
there's so many layers.
Kind of terrifying. Yeah. And to like think about, sliding in this little tiny little space when there are heads on this side of you and heads on the other side of you. And like, you're like, I hope I don't hit anyone. Like it's so even like learning I'm so glad that we had as much time as we did in the rehearsal process, because learning the choreography, it felt like you were starting all over again once you got to the theater, because it was such a different, yeah.
So walking and like still like know the dance perfectly and put the blocking and the dance together, which is a element of its own.
Right. Yeah. And then, and then lights and costumes.
Oh my God.
It's like, it's because, like you said, it's such a spectacle of a show. All of that stuff is so important that, like, I'm glad we were given the time to work that into it before we were just like thrown back in, especially like for the newer people joining, because it's tricky.
And I'm sure the lights actually, maybe more than the costumes even, make a huge difference, because like when you're like, how much can you see when you're actually performing in the lights?
It's actually pretty bright, but there are like moments in like Backstage Romance where they're like, the flickering lights and stuff like that, where you're like, okay, yeah, that changes things for me. Like now I got to figure out where I'm going.
Yeah.
In way different lighting. But honestly, it depends on the piece, because the costumes for me in the opening number are the biggest thing to work with, because like that can skirt, it's heavy. Yes. And it's like, it's heavy, and you're like, if I make one slight wrong move, my heel's gonna get stuck in it, and then I'm gonna be face down on the floor. So yeah. So
yeah,
I mean,
what'd you say? That would take me out of doing that show ever, is dancing in that and heels, and I would be like a tangled mess by the
my gosh, yeah. And then like on top of that, the corsets, you're like, oh, now I gotta figure out how to breathe again. So like it's incredible, but all of that's what makes it so beautiful and like such a incredible musical. So it's like gotta work with it.
So what was your Broadway debut like? Do you remember the day?
Yes, I do. It was very emotional. Yeah, I mean, leading up to it, I was trying to like kind of just not obsess over it, because I think it would have freaked me out. So I was trying to just kind of like treat it like a normal day, like leading up, because if not, like I would have been freaking out. And I knew that as soon as I hit the stage, I would be freaking out anyway. And just like, honestly, like grasping the concept that like, Maya, like you're doing literally the dream that you set, like a goal that you set for yourself, like you're doing it, like you're living your dream right now. Like, what? How did that happen? Like, it was just, it was like overwhelmingly emotional. And my mom and my grandma were in the audience, which was so special, and they were so proud and just like
They were
tears. It was
the whole time.
yeah. It was like and I was a mess. Like by come what may, I think is when I really started like pouring in the tears, and I was like, whoa, you've got to hold it together in my hand. Like, it was very emotional, and yeah.
But it's also like people love seeing like the genuineness of the performers on stage and seeing that they love doing what they're doing. Like you can see that when you're watching
absolutely
as an audience member. So I mean, sometimes the tears are a good thing. Sometimes
they were, and it was a release that needed to like happen. Like, because you know, when you're moving so fast and like you're in a crazy rehearsal process and then you're like teching, like you don't get to have that time to sometimes just like acknowledge what you're doing and like wow, like this is, you know, I've come so far, like I'm like living a dream of mine, like, and yeah, sometimes you don't get to sit in that moment, and I think I didn't get to sit in that moment a lot just because I was so hyper focused on like learning everything and, you know, like not embarrassing myself in front of this cast of Broadway vets. And so I think that's why it was such an overwhelming rush of emotions, because I was like, it was like a relief and like, wow, like I don't know. It was, yeah.
What do you do in your everyday life to be able to perform on stage 8 times a week? Because that, speaking of no joke, like you're in a high energy show doing high energy dance numbers, and then add on top of that, you have to do it 8 times a week.
Right. Honestly, I wish I had like the book of like how to do an 8-show week, because it depends on my week. Like some days I'm like, I feel incredibly lazy and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I like get up and I like make coffee and then I'll like go back to sleep and then I'll like watch TV and then I'll go do the show. But then some days I'm like, okay, I'm going to run errands. I'm going to take dance class. I'm going to like do a deep stretch in the warm-up room. And then I'm going to do the show. And it just kind of, I'm still trying to figure out the balance of like what my body needs. And I'm trying to just kind of like listen to it and like listen to like what my body and my spirit need at the moment. Like today, I really want to take dance class. So I'm going to take dance class. And then like maybe Thursday, I'm going to be exhausted and I don't want to. And I want to like chill. So I've been just on a more like simpler note. Like I've been like taking my vitamins and like making sure I'm drinking a lot of water and staying hydrated and trying not to overdo it with the caffeine, because like I don't want to crash. And you're right. It's a high energy show that you're like, I can't use up all my energy in the beginning of the show, also in the beginning of the week, because I need to make it through the weekend, you know? So,
I mean, yeah, because like the show ends and it immediately goes back into high energy at Curtis.
Right. Yeah. So it's something I'm definitely still trying to navigate, and then I'm still listening to, you know, all of the people around me and listening to their advice so I can kind of like create my own how to get through an 8-show week. Because it's even though I knew it would be hard, like it's not something I feel like can really like understand until you're like doing it and you're like, wow, like this is not what I expected difficulty and it's still not what I expected, you know? It's like it's hard.
It's a lot. And then you have like the press schedules and like
the
award and stuff on top of that. I mean, and it's like all the excitement.
Yeah, and like luckily adrenaline is a thing. Yeah. So like, you know, getting through like the week of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was an incredibly hard week, but like there was so much adrenaline like pumping through me and probably a lot of the cast, because I think for a lot of us it was our first time at Macy's, that like you were able to kind of push through that really, really hard week. So like luckily you have those moments, and like you know, like moments like on the opening night, like I'm sure we were all exhausted because we've been in tech leading up to it, but like the adrenaline up that you get from like the audience is like, it's enough to push you through.
Did the adrenaline help in the cold?
In the, like with Macy's when we were outside? Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. It was like, I mean, it was freezing, but I was so happy that like I couldn't even like, I mean, it was so cold. I got up at like 5 a.m. to do, or 4 a.m. to do it, like to get to the theater. And I like couldn't sleep that day. Like I was like so on such a high from it all that I was like, yeah. You're
like, how am I supposed, like my brain is like trying to process everything. How am I supposed to get any rest?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
So what's your favorite dance number in Moulin Rouge? I'm sure it changes weekly.
It changes. I definitely have like little moments that are like my favorite, but Roxanne is my favorite number in total.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Is that your favorite too?
I talk about Roxanne with one of my friends named Kalina, who loves Moulin Rouge as much as I do. And she just like we love the whole aspect of like what's happening during
and beyond the dancing, like it's just a powerful moment. And I remember that being when I had chills. Like I like have chills thinking about it. Like in watch, like when I watched it, like that's when I was like, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And that was my favorite movement to learn, like in the audition process. It just like feels so good. And then I just like also like it's a tango, and I like love a tango. Like it's just like, it's like strong, and it's like sexy, and it's like powerful, and it's intense. It's just I absolutely love Roxanne. Like I want to do Roxanne forever. Like,
and the singing.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Love it.
It's such an emotional moment in the show, and I think that's part of the reason why the movement is so good, because it can reflect that. Emotion. And like,
I mean, also, the emotion as like you can go along with the emotion while you're dancing.
Like, and the lighting, and like it's just like as a whole, like Roxanne is it for me.
Yes, everyone who works on that show is like so genius with like the design of the set.
Yes, oh my gosh, absolutely.
Every different scene. What's your favorite costume in the show? Because the costumes are amazing.
Are beautiful. So I mean, they're all beautiful. And I think for whatever reason, pre-show is actually my favorite costume. The one I wear for pre-show and for Shut Up and Raise, but really pre-show because I love the pink wig too. And I feel like maybe it's my favorite because it's like a tease, because I don't get to wear it for very long. And I feel like just like so elegant and like mysterious in it. And the corsets are beautiful in opening. I mean, in the pre-show in general, like I love that everyone's is so different, but still like in the same world. But then like a special shout out would have to be like to Backstage Romance, because like all of those costumes are just gorgeous, and I love the blue and orange of the one that I get to wear. Like it's just stunning. The costumes are insane. Like,
yes, I can't imagine how many hours of work went into those.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the pink wig is like iconic in the show, I feel like. Though it's like just pre-show, it's like still iconic.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I think that's what it is. Like I don't get to wear it for long enough, so I'm like, it's just like feels like magical, and then I have to change out of it so quickly.
I mean, it's a reason to get to the show like on time to like see that pink wig.
Yeah, it is. And I try to tell people that when they come see the show, I'm like, come early.
Yeah.
Because there are things happening you don't want to miss.
Yes, exactly. Like there's a whole pre-show. Come on. Just,
like,
grab your drink and like come early. Or I don't know if there's a thing in right now, but like
it is right now. Okay. It's been going on and off, but because of COVID, but right now it's happening. Yes.
So how would you convince theater fans to come see Moulin Rouge on Broadway?
I think it's a show that's wonderful, like for escape. So like I think it's like a world that you can fully like get lost in, And so I think if you're wanting to come see a show that you can kind of like take your mind off of something or like get lost in like a different world, like a different time, to come see Moulin Rouge, because I think the spectacle of it all and the experience of it all makes it worth it for someone who's like not a regular theater goer and someone who's like not interested really in the arts. Like it's kind of like, I mean, like it's not an interactive experience, but there are parts of it that are kind of interactive, and it's kind of it's the best of like concert, musical, like immersive experience. And I think
that's everything.
Yeah.
And the audience gets so, like, the repeat audiences get so hyped that like,
yeah,
well, if you're a first-time audience member to not get hyped during the show.
It's just exciting. I mean, it's an incredibly exciting show. It's beautiful. I think it's absolutely worth seeing. Obviously I have bias, but
I mean, I think it's a perfect first Broadway show for anyone who hasn't seen a Broadway show.
I would agree. I think so too. I think, yeah, and I think that's I have 2 older brothers, and my dad, it's not like they're like regular theater goers, but I think even if I wasn't in it, they could get lost in Moulin Rouge, because it's such an experience that I think anyone could enjoy that.
For sure. I definitely 100% agree. So what is your dream show to be in?
This question's hard for me, because like I would have said Moulin Rouge, like because that was it for so long, and like that was what I put in the back of my mind, like a Moulin Rouge, like before there was a Moulin Rouge, it was a Moulin Rouge-esque vibe, like that. I was like, that's what I see myself doing. But I think next I want to be, I love to be a part of shows where like dance is integral to the story. And I mean, there are a lot of shows that do that, but there are a lot of shows that have yet to be created to do that. And I think that that's what I would want next, is to be a part of something from the beginning, that where like dance is such a huge part of the storytelling of it. It's similar to Moulin Rouge. So I know it's not a specific show, and that's a very roundabout answer, but
but we need another show that's kind of that like has the amount of dance that like something like Newsies has, maybe.
Yeah, and like
original.
Yes, and I think hopefully those things are coming, and I think like new art is being made, new things are being made, and I just hope to be one day a part of something that where I can like originate and be a collaborator on, and it to be incredibly dance heavy, like
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's manifest that. It's gonna happen for sure. I have no doubt. What is the funniest thing that's happened on stage that you can laugh about now?
The funniest thing, there are a lot of funny moments, and I think especially because with the exhaustion of the show, like you get to a like point of delirium to where like everyone's just like silly. I don't want to like pick on anyone else, so I'm gonna like poke fun at myself. I took a tumble in like October when I like had someone come to the show. Then this is something that in the moment like I was pretty traumatized by, but I can laugh at now. And I was just like so high energy, like I was so excited. Like it was still, I think it was just like a week after we opened, so I still have so much like amped up energy.
Yes.
And during the opening, right before everybody can, I like went headfirst on the steps, and I don't think anyone even noticed. But I mean, obviously, it felt to me, it felt like a 45-minute fall. And like slow climb back up to my ending pose. And then as we went into the when the scene's happening and the transition music is happening, as we go into that scene, I was like freaking out, and I was with my partner at the time for that moment, Fred, and I was like, am I bleeding? And he was like, no. Oh yeah, no, like you're bleeding, like, and I had just like blood gushing down my face. Yeah, which I'm like, maybe that's not that funny, but like now I can kind of laugh at like me, and I wasn't willing to leave the stage to like fix it because like I was still like, no, like I have friends here, like I want to, it's my show,
yeah,
I want to do the show, but I had to, like I would have terrified anyone in the front row as I was like sliding onto the passerelle, like staring in their eyes with like blood gushing down my face. So
like,
I did have to leave the stage. Yeah. So I did have to leave the stage for a moment, get that fixed, and come back on. And no, yeah, like I was completely traumatized by it then, but like now that I'm like in the routine of doing the show every day, like things happen and you have to just like let them go and like laugh about them later because it's like theater.
It happens to the best.
Yeah.
It happens, like, I mean, oh my God, as I said, like, if I had to dance in heels and a dress, it'd be over.
Oh
like, I'd be tumbling off the stage into the audience, probably.
It's dangerous. So yeah, like I've had a few of those almost fall into the audience on those can kicks too, because it's like,
yeah, I'd be like, listen, can you all catch me? Like, if I like,
yeah,
like a concert or something, like, just catch me.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Please. So how do you work on self-confidence in this industry? Because it's a tough industry.
Yeah. It's definitely something that it's interesting because I feel like now that I am doing a show regularly, sometimes my self-confidence, I'm like lacking self-confidence because I don't know what I dance like anymore because I'm not taking as much class as I was, prior to being in this show or like prior to the pandemic. And I'm like, I have to kind of like just kind of trust my talent and like the work I've done thus far and like obviously be open to more, like continuing to train and like, but like I don't always have the time or energy to go as much as I want to. So like a lot of times I'm on stage and I'm kind of like, I literally have no idea what I look like doing this anymore. Like I do not like, is this and so sometimes that kind of can affect my confidence. So I feel like it's, I mean, obviously like confidence is literally just a mind game. Like you kind of have to just remind yourself that you worked hard to be where you're at and you were, given the opportunities that you have for a reason. And I feel like it's literally just a constant like mental note that you have to make because like no one's gonna feed your ego with, oh my God, you're every day like boosting your confidence and it's best to not need that either to like be the most confident version of yourself. So I think trust is a big thing for me, like just trusting myself and like where I'm at right now. And
yes, I mean, and you are technically like you're still dancing every day and you learn by doing too.
Yeah, you do. You learn by doing, you learn by experience, and you learn by the people around you. And like lessons come in many different forms. And like, I think for especially someone who has like that, like dance, I can only speak from like my background, like with like dance where you like are, you feel like you're supposed to be like training every day. It's hard to kind of let go of that mindset and say like, like I don't need to be in the studio 3 times a day to like grow and move forward. And so like that's like currently something that like I'm trying to remind myself. And I think it's also just like as you transition from dance or theater being something you love and a hobby of yours to like your career and like your job, that you have to kind of start viewing it a little differently and kind of like start treating it like a business and treating yourself like a business and just, I don't know. That was kind of a ramble.
Yeah. No, and like,
but
reminding yourself you put in the effort and you.
Sorry, that's so
loud. Hey. So before I get to my last question, where can people follow you on social media to keep?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram. It's just literally at my bowls. So at MAYABOWLES. So
perfect. And I'll
Yeah.
put the link in the lower thirds. And you also have a really nice official website too.
I do. Yes, I do have a website. It's definitely a work in progress. I need to update it a little bit now that but yeah, it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have one.
I do. I have one. It was a requirement to graduate from my school, so I do have one. Yeah.
That's a good requirement for
it is
college, I feel like.
Yeah, it is. I do think though that slowly might start moving away from websites because people use their Instagrams like websites now. Yeah. But yeah, I did work hard on that website, so
it's really
good. It up there. Thanks.
It's really good. So lastly, whether it's theater related or not, do you have anything that you'd want to promote? Or you can just promote Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I think right now that's kind of where I'm at. Since I'm so new, like I don't really have anything else to promote. I wish I did. I wish I had like all these other businesses to be like, hey, check this out, but I don't. So come see Moulin Rouge. I mean, yes. Come see it, come enjoy, and yeah.
Yes, come see shine on stage in Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, it's a good one. You won't regret it.
I agree. I can second that as someone who's seen it twice who wants to see it again. Well, thank you so much for joining me on my interview series. I loved talking to you, and I'm so amazed by all you've accomplished and like just recently out of college. That's insane.
Thank you. I'm so glad I could join you. I'm so glad I saw your email.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!